Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Small Business Marketing Podcast. Today, we are just going to talk about networking. It is one of the most important things in growing your business when you're starting out. That's the only way, actually, you can grow your business is by meeting people because typically people work with who you are, not just, social media and all that. So Annie, I have a guest, Annie Garland. She is a master networker. She's also an author, a trainer, a facilitator, a speaker. She is been doing this for I think eons, for decades, and I'm so excited to have her here because she's seen networking go through different changes and all the decades of transformation, all the ways it has evolved, and she has witnessed it all. And she's still here doing the same thing and is highly successful. So, welcome, Annie. I'm so excited to have you on our podcast today.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here and I love you. And I'm just so honored that we have this time together with your audience. And let's see if we can move the dial somehow.
Yeah, so I did a brief intro. Is there anything you want to add to your intro? Do you want audience to know a little bit more about you?
Well, with life balance, work life balance, I found the love of my life 20 years ago, and that has made all the difference in the world because when you have that balance, you've got somebody who's in step with you. It makes life so much more easy. It really does. It's
Yes,
the balance, right?
balance. Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's very true. So we're going to start with some of the questions, which are going to be about rapid fire, just quick questions for you.
Oh
Okay,
no.
just get ready. All
Get
right.
ready.
Yeah.
I'll do
So
my best.
yeah, and you have been in networking, so they will be very easy for you. So, like, who was your first client, and how did you find them?
My first client was actually a group of ladies. It wasn't just one client. And it was really starting bringing women together in a networking gathering. And then it just went from 5 women to 12 women to 20 women to 60 women. And so I have to say it was a group of ladies because I love bringing women together.
How do you approach networking when you're not in a mood to sell?
How do you approach networking when I usually say stay home. Because if you're not in a good mood, in a good place, your energy, so there's subconscious and conscious messages all the time, verbal and nonverbal. And if you're in a really bad place, I wrote that in my book, just stay home. You're not going to be good for anybody. I know that may not be the answer your people want to hear, but stay home. Unless you
I
can just
agree.
change your mood. Change your
Yeah,
mood, you know?
either take your mood or stay home. I mean, there's no reason to attend an event when you're not fully 100% there because of
It's
your time, your energy, your everything, right? So
right.
why? And you're also not showing up for others fully. So it's not advisable. I love that you say stay home. It's okay. It's okay to
Stay
listen.
home. For sure.
Was one relationship that you didn't even know would open doors for you and it did?
I I want to go back to my childhood. May I? I was the youngest of 5, and I didn't have a lot of support. And this woman came into my life like a big sister when I was 7 years old. And she changed my whole trajectory. And she taught me how to sew and to cook and taught me about art. And she filled in all those gaps that my big family couldn't do for me, being the youngest of 5. And she taught me a little bit about business. She was a secretary, and I just learned so much from her, and she was my foundation. And I always think back to her. Her name
Right.
is Evelyn, and I honor her. This is Women's Month, and I've honored her all month. She passed away last year, and it's been a big void in my life. But what's in my heart is she's there every day, because if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be the woman I am today.
So
Honestly,
beautiful. It only takes one person to
it
change the
takes one
trajectory of
person.
life, guys. So go out, network. You just never know who you're gonna meet, where you're gonna meet. It's never too late.
Well, interestingly, I was wandering around the docks when I met her. So that was in early networking. And I just said, "Hello, how are you?" And she just fell in love with this little ragamuffin Annie Garland, right?
That's
And so she changed my life.
It's beautiful. That's a good question. I get asked all the time, like, where do you find clients? So if you were to rebuild your client base from scratch today, where would you start?
Networking.
Of course,
It's a no-brainer. I mean,
that's
it's like it's the magic. And if you can go in with the right attitude, that's why I say stay home. If you can't, you've got to go in with the right attitude. And you don't have to just, it's not about card collecting. It's about building relationships. And in my book, my first chapter is build relationships before you need them,
yes. So we will
right?
talk more about that. But
Yeah, we can.
networking, guys, networking is how you're going to build your client base if you don't even have a single client right now. Now, something a little more lighter, fun. What's your go-to coffee before a big networking meeting or a pitch?
Well, here it is. It says, keep calm, drink tea. I'm a tea drinker. I actually, a short little story, I used to drink 10 cups of coffee every day until one day I couldn't drink coffee anymore. It just wouldn't go down. And I was like, I mean, I used to go for coffee here and coffee there because I had so many people I was meeting and it was always coffee. And my body just said, stop. And so I've been a tea drinker for the last 40 years, 30 years, 35 years, something like that. Yes, I'm that old.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally get it. So in America, I drink coffee. When I visit India, I drink tea, right? Chai. And it's just, for me, the switch has never been a problem. Like you drink this or that, it doesn't matter. It's something hot you gotta have in
Well,
life.
if I could get chai, I would drink that. I love Indian chai. I would just, it's my favorite. And I
Okay.
can't, I have to go to an Indian restaurant to get it the right way.
I'm gonna bring you some next
Good.
time. Some
I'll
packets. Okay.
happily accept.
Yes. So if your business was a board game, what would that be?
Oh gosh, that's so easy. Chutes and ladders.
Guys,
And
that's something for
I think
everyone.
everyone can relate to that because
Yes.
you climb, you're at the bottom and you climb, 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 and you think you've reached that pinnacle, where you want to go, and all of a sudden something snaps and whoo, and sometimes you fall all the way back down. Sometimes, I always say you take 3 steps, 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's what business is. And you have to have a good mindset. You have to have
Yeah.
a good attitude
Yes.
because it's life, right?
It's life.
And
And then
actually,
sometimes you're going to jump to the
yeah,
top,
yeah.
and that's also possible, right? You'll take a 2 step forward, 3 steps back, and then you're going to take 100 steps forward all of a sudden. And you're like, wow, how did that
So
happen?
you have a new plateau and then you go again, right?
Yeah,
So it's yeah. Oh my gosh,
this
that's
is so
that's
good.
in
Yes.
my actually in my book. That was an easy one.
So, what's the one quirky habit or ritual you have before you meet new clients or you go to a networking event?
Oh, that's also easy. You have to get grounded. Go into a meditation, do breathing. I do a lot of breathing. I visualize the outcome.
That's
I mentally visualize who I'm meeting, how it's going to flow, our interaction, and what my result that I want to happen. It doesn't always work out that way. However, I've made strides toward it.
Guys, right here is gold. If you want your networking to be successful, this is exactly what you need to do before every networking meeting. So, what would you say to the audience on how to find the right networking event and how to get the first clients?
Well, that's actually it's a complex one because it takes time. I wrote in my book, "What does men's underwear have to do with networking?" And it's really all about finding the right fit. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, right? So, how do you go about doing that? You just have to get out there and visit them. It's trial and error. And there are groups that say, They say, oh, well, you come once, and if you don't join, you only have one chance to, join. If you don't join after that, it's going to cost you so much money. Don't fall for that one. You have to go 2 times at least, or 3 times. You've got to feel the vibe of the people, and you've got to see how they greet you, how they treat you, right? But you also have to do some homework before you go in. You have to ask people. And usually it's a referral that will bring you to some groups. They'll say, I've got this great group. I think you'd be a good fit. Or you can ask friends that are in your industry, where do you go? There's chambers, there's BNIs, there's Lions Club, Rotary. I mean, Meetup. You can go on Meetup. Other things are like just go on LinkedIn, and there are groups. There's events. I mean, just there's no, my calendar could be filled 3 times over on a day if I were to take advantage of everything that's out there, right? But you have to discern. You have to find what's right for you, and you have to within business. If it's business, I mean, I believe you go into a group with an idea of it's meeting the people, understanding the people, and business will happen once you've gained their trust, with building rapport. It's, people don't do business with people they don't know, like, or trust. And I talk about reverse engineering that. People have to trust you before they're going to like you, and they're not going to like you until they know you. So if you want to do business, you have to step back and set the stage, and you have to be open. You have to be willing to meet people. And there's so many groups. Just there's a plethora. I mean, there was one point I belonged to 5 chambers, really. And some lunch, some dinner. I mean, that's why I became a serial networker. I mean, that's what I did, but it benefited me in so many ways.
True.
And
And that's how we met, to a networking event.
yes,
I remember when I started my business, I was networking like crazy in every possible way until you realize it is exhausting to go everywhere. And like you say, you have to discern, but to discern, you have to go to places at least 2 to 3 times to decide if it's right for you or not. Sometimes you stay a year and then maybe you've grown out of it and you move on. And that's a
that's
constant
okay.
decision making you have to do. And you have to say no also. Like, I love your networking group, but because of the distance, having a small child, doing all that, it just, sometimes not that you don't want to, you just have to prioritize, based on where you are in life. So, guys, like Annie said, there's so many ways to network. You were the managing director for eWomen Network. It's a great networking group for women who wanna like talk to each other, get the support, and get a referral. There's Chamber of Commerce. There's Eventbrite. There's Meetup. There's like LinkedIn. They're everywhere, and find events that are both in person and online so that you kind of not burning out, correct, and then doing what's right for you. So some maybe just you get up and you in your pajama, put your face on, you're networking like I'm doing right now. I'm in my pajamas, just looking good on a top up, and then sometimes you want to go in person. So one of the things, that's the next question, the advantage of both, combining both online and in person. Like, I personally never recommend to do one over other. Like, you gotta do a combination. What would you say to that?
I would agree with that. I mean, they offer 2 different levels. For me, I am toe to toe, heart to heart, in your face. I mean, that is the best. 85% of studies have said that that's the most and the best way to make a connection. I mean, it without question. I mean, you have to see their body language. You have to see their smile. You have to look in their eyes, right? There's so much can be said through body language when you're networking. You can tell if somebody's receiving your story or receiving you, or if they're offended by you in some way. Body language. I mean, I talk about body language in my book. I mean, there's ways that people stand if you're in a group, whether they're going to receive you, if they're open, whether their feet are, are stationed. You know, there's just so much to it. But face to face is the best. Online is great. In my book, I have my second sections about networking virtually. And the one little tip that I have, and I know many people do it already, is if you see you're on an online chat or whatever, a group call or whatever, and somebody really you feel some connection there, but you don't really know. They said something that triggered you. And so what I would do, I quickly go on my computer and look them up on LinkedIn and see who they are and see their background and see if they would be somebody I would be interested in going further with, because you have complete control. And then I would text them or chat in the chat, a private chat, and say, hey, I really enjoyed, my name is Annie. I really enjoyed what you said. I'd love to carry that conversation further. That is magic. And you can't do that. You can do it in person, but the response is a little different. But you can't look them up on LinkedIn. You say, excuse me, I'm going to the bathroom. You go over to the bathroom, you look it up on LinkedIn, you come back and say, yeah, I want to get together with you more.
Yeah,
Now
no.
that's a emotional thing when you're with somebody in person. It's like, you know, you know, and I know that you have this aura that's 3 feet wide all around you. And that's when like attracts like, when your little auras connect, right?
Yeah,
That's magic.
yeah. Yeah,
And
so
it's
both
an
are really
attitude.
important.
It's an attitude too. I mean, you know, just smiling all the time and being receptive, you're going to meet people. That's why I say stay home if you have a bad day.
Stay home with a bad day. Yeah. Networking, right? One of the hardest thing for me. So I know people think I'm very outgoing and outwardly, but I am a deeply introverted person and in my heart, right? I get my energy back by being alone, not by with being people ever. Okay. So I always had a fear of public speaking, like major ones. Okay. So pitch, that's 45 seconds and 60-second pitch was one of the hardest thing for me to master. Okay. And even to write, like, what do I want to say in that 60 seconds, which will explain all that I do. And especially for introverts, right? It's harder because we need too many words either to describe ourselves, or we just shut down. Like we
No,
can't
you
say,
don't. And I'm going to
okay.
make it very simple, but I want to go
So,
back to the fact that you're an introvert. And I love introverts. And you know why? Because they are so deep. They don't like small talk. You have so much to offer. And if somebody can connect with an introvert, that's like, that's a gift, because you're an introvert. You don't like small talk. You don't want to just do matter of fact. You want to go deep with people. And that's beautiful. And so, but there are people that are shy and they get confused. There's a difference between introverts,
yeah.
because I always say introverts would rather go have a root canal than go to a networking meeting and have to introduce themselves.
Yes.
But I have a tool that can help anybody, whether you're shy or whether you're an introvert. Okay. And the thing about introverts, they want engaging conversation. Shy people are just shy.
Yeah.
They probably don't like public speaking, right? So, and they can use this tool too, but they're a little bit more, they may be vibrant and whatever, but they're just shy. They never went to school for networking, how to connect with somebody. Did you go to school? Did you ever, I'm going to ask your audience, have you ever gone to a school that taught you how to network? No, they don't. You know, that's why I'm here, right? So I have some tools that will help. And can I share one with you?
Yeah, please go
Okay.
ahead.
I call it searching for gold. So when you're at a networking meeting, whether you're an introvert or you're shy, or even if you're an experienced person like me, and I do this, I always look for the person who's sitting or standing alone. You know why? Because they don't like to network either. And 9 times out of 10, they probably are introverts, but they're there because they know they need to be there. They know they need to make a connection, and they're standing against the wall or they're eating alone, you know, Those are the people that I go up to. And I usually have a plan when I go to a networking meeting. I usually want to meet one or two, sometimes three, but one or two connections, right? So I that's my goal. I set this goal. And when I see that person, I walk over to them and say, I saw you standing here alone or sitting here alone. And I said, you know what? This morning when I came out, I had a goal to meet one or two people at this meeting tonight. And you're my first. I want to introduce myself. My name is Annie Garland, and I work with women who want to have more confidence networking, right? That's what I do. And
Perfect.
so that's part of that. That's the pitch right there.
Yeah.
You know, who do you work with? What problem do you solve? And how are you going to help them? And if you can answer those three questions, that's a very simple pitch. Can I work with you on that right now?
Yeah, so let's talk about the pitch, right? The
Mm-hmm.
pitch is one of the like it took me a long time to now I can recite it in my sleep, but it took a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to figure out what my pitch is, practice in front of the mirror for like
Yes.
thousand times. I got up and
Mm-hmm.
do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and do it in front of my child, do it in front of my husband. Like I had to really practice the pitch. So let's talk about how to even create, like now I can say in one line, like for my marketing agency, like we make marketing stress free for small business owners. It's done, right? That
Perfect.
one line tells you everything you need to know, at least create enough curiosity. So let's teach our audience how
Okay.
to create, how to write their pitch.
Okay. And I know a lot of people, if you're in a chamber meeting and they go around the room, right? And I see people sweating, or or I like to, if I'm um, working a meeting, if I'm at the helm of it and we're going around, I say, I want you to introduce yourself. I want you to do it in one breath, right? That's hard, but it's not, because you just did yours in one breath.
Yes.
So it's like, who do you serve? You know, I help or I work with, right? What problem do you solve? I work I work with women who want more confidence networking. And how are you going to help them so that they can walk into any room and feel comfortable? That's mine. One
Perfect.
breath, right?
Yeah.
It's as simple as, who do you serve? Women, men. Don't say everyone, you know. I work with me specifically. I work with women and a few good men, but for the most part, all my events are women or factored. So, who do you work with? What problem do you solve? And how can you help them? How does that, you know,
Perfect.
simple as that.
Yeah, and just build on it. You're going to get it wrong, you're going to get it wrong, you're going to get it wrong, and then you're going to get it right. So
Right.
right now you have also chat gpt to help you. Hey, this is my audience, this is who I serve, help me write a one line pitch, 30-second pitch, and they will do it, help you out. So go out and try it out. Like again, there's no formula which will just going to be perfect for you, but you just have to try. And if you're afraid like me, you just sort of practice, put in the time to just practice.
Yeah. And record yourself. Take your phone, right? And just do it. And it's going to be bad. Or call me up. I'll help you. I'll
Yes,
help you write it.
yes,
Please.
there's so many ways to do it, guys. Just so yeah, get your pitch right.
That's a big one. That's a really big one, because once you feel comfortable with that and you know who to approach in a room, it takes all the stress away, right? And
Yeah.
it's don't go to a networking meeting if you're stressed. I mean, what's the point? You're there to make a connection. And you really, I have this thing about, you're not at a networking meeting to collect cards. Please banish that. Everyone, banish that. You don't need to be a card collector. The one with the most card, you know what? They lose. They don't win. How can you track all those people? Because my biggest thing, and I know you're going to ask the question, is what's the worst thing you can do after, what's the number one, it's the most deadly sin of networking. Can we go into that now?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Sure. The most deadly sin is you meet somebody and you don't follow up. What's the point of meeting with them? And I have a little great tool. Once you meet with, whether it's online or whether it's in person. And so what I say, I look for those two people. I've got two cards. I go back in my car after the meeting. And what I do, I've now got their information. I write something significant about them, like she's a redhead, or she's got long dark hair and she's, of, Indian, or
Yes.
whatever you want. Beautiful, beautiful smile, or something you've learned about them, that struck you about that person because you wouldn't have had the conversation anyway, right?
Yes.
Well, but that goes into if it didn't work out, and we're going to come back to that. But you're in your car, you've got your two cards, you've written down something. Get on your phone right away and text them. Say, Prati, I so enjoyed our conversation. I would love, or I'd be willing, I'd love to connect. I'd like to continue. A lot of people don't want to use the word love. I'd like to continue our conversation. So let's do that. Are you available next week? I've got time on Wednesday. Is that a good day for you? Because you want to give them an option to say yes or no. Like, oh, I'd like to meet with you again. Wednesday's not going to work. Are you available Thursday or Friday? Are you flexible or something like that? Right? That's one way of following up right away. And if you don't do it right away, it's going to just dissipate and you're going to wait and meet them again. And you'll have to go back and try to remember the conversation. And that's a warm lead, people. That's a warm lead. You've got a lead. You're starting to build rapport. That's how you do it.
Yes.
People do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah, I mean, follow up is so crucial, and I'm guilty of a lot of times not doing it. And I know it's one of the thing like you everybody just needs to invest time. And one of the things I've learned when you're meeting the person second time or third time, this one of the deadly sins for me is people who just try to sell something instead of just if you're meeting someone, get to know about them, learn about them. Don't try, people have this mindset that I'm going to go and sell them something. And I think it's such a turn off for most people. Then they will never meet you again. Right? This is it.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to do business with you, they will come to you when they are ready. But you can't go in the second meeting with only one intention that I'm going to sell something to you.
Yeah.
You want to say something about that?
Yeah, that's a deadly sin. That's bad. It's just a turn off. And when somebody comes up to you and they're pretty hardcore about selling you something, um, you don't want to blow them off because I have this philosophy: you never know who you meet that needs to know you, and you never know who they know that needs to know you. And so you never, ever, as bad as a situation might be, just smile. And sometimes I'll say, you know what? You know, your product sounds interesting. It's not for me right now, but you've given me enough information. And if I know somebody who needs that, I'd be happy to recommend you. That's a nice way of dealing with it. You're nice. You're playing in the sandbox nicely, right? Because you don't want to be negative about it. You just, they're doing their job. They
Yeah.
just don't have the skill and the finesse of doing it nicely.
Yeah,
And that
100% agree.
takes years. It's not about selling is about an emotion. And when somebody comes up to you and just dumps it on, that's a negative emotion that they're creating for you. And it's like you step back, you know, but they can't help it. And you have to forgive them and just say, I'm never going to do that. I don't want to be like that. That's a gift that they just gave you, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah. You can be nice to people, right?
yeah,
But all I'm saying, there's something, if you are new to this whole networking thing, don't go. I used to do BNI networking, and there was this one core value called giver's gain. You give, you give, you give, you give before you ask, right? You gotta give a lot.
Yeah.
So you go with the mindset on how what I can do for the other person.
Right.
It's a game changer because whether you get help directly from that person or not, what you do will always come back to you in some form or other, and you just have to trust that process of showing up for yourself and making sure you're doing something, not going at the cost of your peace. But if you can do something for someone, just do it. And that's the beauty of it, of
Yeah, and
networking.
that's what I've been known for. People call me up all the time saying, Annie, do you know somebody who? Or I'm like a Rolodex for people,
Yes.
right? I mean, I
Yeah.
get it all the time and I'm grateful, but I just give
Yeah.
because it'll come back to me.
It'll come back.
I
Yeah.
don't need, right? It's for me, it's a blessing to be able to give. That's how I've been so well received over the years.
Yes. No,
I
you're
don't know of
totally.
many people who have a bad word to say about me. I'm sure there must be some people out there, but it's just like I want to see people succeed. That's in my heart, and that's how I feel about networking.
That's why
The
you are a serial networker, Annie. There's nobody like you.
Well, I'm sure there are, but yeah. Thank you.
Happens all the time. Like, oh, I'm networking people, but they're not turning into paying customers. And I just like, for me, I don't have a lot of patience with that. Like, okay, I mean, people when they're ready to turn into paying customers, they will. Like, you can't force anybody. But what would you say to that? Like, you have to network, you have to show up, you may have to meet 50 people, I believe, before two say yes to working with you. And to me, that's just the way life is. Like, that's how it is. Like, not everybody is going to be ready. But I know people will get very frustrated that they've done networking for 6 months and now people are not buying and it's over, right?
Well, they've got the wrong product, or they're not. You know what? There's a difference between um, informing and uh, um, impacting somebody. I mean, just you don't want to be an information dump. You want to influence, and that's when you really know how to sell. If you're an influencer, people, you just state what you do, and the success stories have people write testimonials about you if you're good, and they'll read about it, right? You can't force yourself on somebody. That's not how you sell. It's not. You have to. It's not about informing, and there's a lot of these companies that and the health industry is rampant with them. As you know, I've got this product. It's going to change your life. And, we've got studies and they're this and they're that. And they very well may be true. And I actually use some of those products, but it takes time, right? It takes time to build a know, like, and trust. You can't just shove something down somebody's throat. Or I got a contest. Could you help me? Gee, I don't, I'll see if, yeah,
I get it. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, everything in life is a process, right?
yeah.
And I know we all want quick results, but unfortunately, it doesn't happen. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort, you need to show up, and you need to continue showing up. That's a very entrepreneurial mindset that you're going to show up even when you don't see immediate results because they will come. You gotta just trust, just trust. I remember like the marketing thing when I started, right? Now, even though I had 20 years of marketing experience behind me, I did a lot of work initially for complimentary, right? Just to get a testimonial or lowered my prices a lot just so that I can have people say good things about me before I could really charge, right? So
Mm-hmm.
even though you could have a, lot of experience, you're leaving a, probably high six-figure job, you have got the experience and you think, but it's still, business is still new, people still don't know you in that world, and it's, you're going to start from the scratch again. Like, this is it, you're almost starting and rebuilding everything you want to be, even though you have a lot of experience and you already are well established probably in your corporate career, right? So So you're right, like show up, don't push your offer or don't shove it down the face. Go with the intention of again helping others. How you show up and just put the time in.
Yeah, Prati, you know this very well. Buying, selling is about an emotional transaction.
Yes.
And if the emotional isn't there, the emotion isn't positive, they're not going to buy. So somebody coming at you and they're just, like, I need this sale, or you, your original question was what was it getting people to buy
Turn
from
into paying
you?
customers.
Yeah. It's a know, like, and trust. And it's the emotion. It's like
Yes.
we all buy on emotion.
Yes.
I mean, that's the number one key to sales,
Yes.
and if you can't get to where the emotion can be felt by the individual, you haven't gotten to know that individual. You don't know what the trigger is that's going to make them make that sale.
Yeah, so that's a big thing in marketing. Get to know.
Getting to know them, build the rapport, build the relationship. That's why I say in the beginning, build, build the relationship before you need them.
Yeah,
Build the rapport, build the contacts before you need them.
true. And what you're saying is again, it's a rule in marketing, right? You gotta learn your customer. So you
Yeah,
should know who is buying from you and why, the emotion, and that's when you will turn those people into paying customer by understanding your emotion, not selling or talking about your product feature or how great it is, what it will do for them. You got to make sure they understand that and you're clear on that. Then the I think conversion is a lot easier. But if you don't see that, nobody will convert. So it's a,
right.
it's a very simple formula: is understand the emotion and talk about that emotion.
And if you're at networking meetings and you've helped somebody, and you can say, "Oh, ask so and so. I'd like to introduce you. They use my product. And
Yeah.
would you share what benefit it has for you? If you think that person could benefit from it. You don't want to do that unless you've done a little homework here and then
Yeah.
building that relationship, right?
Yeah.
So,
And one of the things in networking, which I think we talk about always the ask, but I think nobody's talking about how to ask for referrals. So you could show up in a networking meeting and maybe again, like you said, maybe the immediate people don't need what you're selling, but they may know someone
exactly.
who would need what you're selling, right? So how do you go to a networking event, right? When you and explain that in the pitch itself, like I help and I am looking for, say, you initially you asked me who is your client, and I said these are small business owners
Right.
who have been in business for 3 to 5 years who are ready for growth, right? Like let's talk. So how do you ask for referrals in a networking meeting very effectively?
Interestingly, eWomen Network does that really well. They have you, when you go to a meeting, it's all about building relationships and understanding referrals. And when you have two opportunities to meet two different groups, and they go around the room and say, you get to say who's an ideal customer for you and what do you need, you
Yeah.
know, and what do you need in your business? That certain networking organizations give that to you. And maybe if you're really hard, you've really got a product that you really want to sell, maybe that's the group that you want to go to that does referral introductions right there. Otherwise, if you're at just a chamber meeting or whatever, you can turn to a buddy and say to them, um, hey, Prati, you know, I'm want to work on this one problem that I have. I got a quota or whatever, or you know what, I've got this new product, and let me explain. Do you have time? Can I share with you what it is? Maybe you know somebody who might help me with that because you're in marketing and you know a lot of people, or you're going to talk to somebody in your same industry, but they don't compete with you. Can you direct me to somebody that this product might work for you? I mean, you've
Yeah.
got to have friends, which you get when you go networking.
Yeah.
It all
No,
comes
that's
back
true.
to networking.
Exactly. And another group is BNI
You and
networking.
I,
Really great for small businesses. I think is so powerful because this
yes,
is all referral based marketing. And also, even in your pitch, you can include that I'm looking for so and so. These are my clients, like just a quick one line. I'm looking for, people who need plumbing services, or
right.
I'm looking for household in West Hartford, right? Whatever, right? So you could really define that and add to your pitch also a quick line about who you want to work with. And you'll be so surprised at how many people are going to reach out to you, say, I know someone you're
Yeah,
asking for. It's amazing. Every single time you do that, people reach out.
yeah. And if you have a small group, you can even post it on your Facebook page, like, hey, I'm looking for, and maybe it's a personal thing, like, I'm looking for somebody who can do house cleaning. My girl just left me. Who can help me? You know,
Yeah.
and they'll come back to you. I mean, BNI is also an excellent opportunity. Yes, very much so. But all organizations are like that. It's just finding the right tribe, the right fit.
It is about that. It is
Yes,
really, again, it's really just trying many, many until you find, and going with one or two, showing up consistently in one or two, right? You can still try more, but I think consistency is also a key. If you show up
yes,
consistently, you're more likely to get business than showing up once and not showing up again and then leaving and showing every 6 months. Like, again, that doesn't work. That's another thing of networking. So let's talk about, to really be really successful at networking, what are the key things you must do? Like, one of the things we are talking about, you know consistency. So do you have like a list, like here are the five things one person must have in order to be very successful at networking?
well, first of all, you have to have a goal. You have to know what your goal is. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan, right? What is, I mentioned it earlier. My goal was to meet two or three people that I hadn't met before. I wasn't going to go in with being a card collector. Or if I have an event coming up, I will say to somebody, oh, hey, I've got an event coming up. I would love for you to be there. Can I share more about it? Of course, I'm known for my events, and everybody's saying, comes to me and says, when's your next event? But that's just an example to do that, to go around. So you have a plan, you have a strategy, you have to follow up. You stay on it. Um, I mean, it's as simple as that. Plan, strategy, goals, plan, follow up. No, do is the most important part, and
Mhm.
then follow up. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
those
And
are
if
like
I
five
may,
steps.
only 5 steps, and there's a couple of more soft things. Don't sell,
Yeah.
and be consistent, right? So eventually you want to find groups that you're going to show up consistently, and you're consistently giving referrals, you're consistently helping others, and it will come back to you. So we talked about pretty much everything except the strategy. What do you mean by strategy?
Strategy.
Yeah.
Strategy is, well, it's your plan. Your strategy is, I have a goal to, I have a target dollar market or whatever, and I'm looking to bring on board one or two clients this month.
Mhm.
For me, it's my strategy is creating an event. I'm going to create so many events over a year, right? That's my strategy. And then I bring people in, I network, I market, that's how I do it. But for most people who don't do what I do, your strategy is, how many clients do you want? I mean, you must do that, right? You have a goal, you have a plan, you have a year plan, you have quarterly plans, goals. There's,
Yeah.
there's, I know of several people who are business and they have these quarterly Thrive um, meetings where they'll put you on a course and you will come up with your goal and you will have your plan and you will execute it. I
Yes.
mean, I can name three people who do that. You're
Yes.
probably one of them.
Yes.
Not
Totally.
probably, you're one of them that you can help people. And many people need help. If you're just starting out in business, you know, If you don't have a plan and a strategy, you don't have anything. You can't,
Exactly.
you don't have a business, right? You
True,
have
true.
to, the best thing is to work with a marketing business professional who can put you in a program to get you on course, especially if you're brand new.
The strategy is really typically, you want to talk about what your goals are, who is your competition, right? And what what is the unique thing you're offering among them. You kind of do to study, okay, what are the networking events around me where my audience is. So one of the best example of networking I've heard was like a lot of financial advisors play golf because their deals happen on a golf course more than anywhere else. And that's networking. They need
Yeah,
people are on the golf course doing networking. So you gotta identify where your audience is, show up. So that way you have kind of at least a brief overview and you're not just floundering, right? You're not going to 30 events and you have narrowed down maybe from 300 events to say 30 events, and from 30 you're going to come down to 3 events. But strategy, kind of think of strategy as your Google map, right? I have a point A and a point B, now help me understand
right.
how am I going to get there. And that's what the strategy part is. And then you of course plan the route. Like you're saying, planning is how many times when you're trying going on a trip, what you're saying, is it going to take an hour, is it going to take 30 minutes, do I need food, do I need to pack this, right? So that's a planning part. What happens if there is an accident, right? So those things you plan, you create a strategy, you plan it out, and then you actually start driving. Like that's the execution part. So
Yes,
I think no matter what you're doing in life, whether it's networking or whether it's a different kind of marketing, you gotta have all of those in place to be very effective with it. Not that you can't do without it, but I think to be effective, to save your time and energy, the more focused you are, easier it is.
right. That's Stephen Covey, the 7 steps. You always go approach something with the end in mind. What
Or
are you going to come away with? What is your goal? What's the end goal? It's just
yeah,
like playing football. You want to get the ball, over the finish line, right? So, yeah, strategy planning. That's with everything. I
that's
mean,
with everything in life.
even if you're going to the grocery store, you're planning. What the end result is to put a nice dinner on the table. So you're going to the store. You've got a what's my route? What's the fastest route, depending on how much time you have to go shopping. I mean, everything in life is a plan.
Yeah. So think of this, right? I know most business owners don't invest in strategy, right? So, and I'm always surprised at how much time we put in buying a house, right? The time and energy and money. You gotta do the same when you're starting a business. Like you gotta put time and effort into understanding, doing the research, creating the strategy. Really, just think of it like buying a house. You're not going to buy any house. You're not just going to show up. You're going to put time to understand what is it you want. Do the same for the business.
Because you're going to hire a real estate agent
Exactly.
to help you through the process, which
Yes.
means you really should hire a coach that can help you
Yes.
go all the steps, because they're going to short circuit it for you. They're going to take all of the magic that you have and help you move that magic. That's your unique proposition, your value proposition. And, so many, it's interesting because I run into people when they do their pitch. They say, well, I'm a coach. Well, yes. And what's your unique value as a coach? What do you do that this coach doesn't do? Right? You're not a coach. Sometimes you're a change maker in a particular area, but don't say you're a coach.
Yeah. No, I totally, and there's so much you have to learn. You will learn as a business, grows and all that. But we are always here for you. Annie's here. I'm going to drop down her, LinkedIn. If you have any networking questions, she has an amazing book. Do you want to tell a little bit about your book and where people can find it?
I do. I have. Well, I have my rubber chicken, and I know
Yes.
that's kind of weird, but it's Dixie. She's on my cover, and the
Yeah.
whole idea, secrets of a serial networker,
Yeah.
connect, serve, and attract more clients. Um, it's broken into 3 sections. The first section is in-person networking. The second section is You had me at hello, or I'm trying to remember. It's quick. It's virtual networking. And then the third section is one of my favorites. It's how, as you become more advanced, how to create an event where you're the star and that you can sell your product, your book, whatever whatever it is, your service, you can hold your own event and it doesn't have to be a lot. And I've got my secret sauce in there, and is I call it the Magical Mystery Tour, taken from the Beatles back in the 70s, 60s, late 60s, 70s. Yes, so there's that. You can get that on Amazon. And the chicken on the front cover is a sort of a metaphor. No, it's not sort of. It is a metaphor, because when somebody says, "Well, what's with the chicken on the cover of your book?" It's like, well, when, have you heard the chicken jokes? Like, why did the chicken cross the road? That's the first thing that comes up. And you say, well, she wanted to get to the other side. But why did she want to get to the other side? She wanted to meet other chicks, right? She wanted to network and peck
Yeah,
away, right? But is the fear of crossing greater than not crossing? What's the reward? Cross those roads.
cross.
No one makes it alone. I want to leave people with that. And I have another one thing that I want to say. Networking is about knowing more people. Connecting is about knowing people more. So when you go to a networking meeting, have the mindset to connect, get to know the person, ask questions. On my website, I have something called the top 10 conversation starters, and they're all open ended questions. You know, it's that's another sales technique. You want
Yes.
open end. If you ask yes or no questions, they're going to say yes, no, and you're dead in the water. You know, the best thing you can do when you're asking, opening, meeting somebody is, what brought you here today? That's an easy one, right?
Yes.
So
And you can all go to Annie's. We will have her website in the links when we are posting this. You can go check out. You can download one of her chapters of the book. You could download the 10, conversation starters. There's so much she has to offer. Check out her LinkedIn. She's
I've
always
got some
posting
fun
great
blogs in there too.
content. Yeah, there are
What does
blogs.
what does bees have to do with networking?
That's a great one.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I wrote
Yeah.
it a while ago, but it's in there. It's a really good one.
Yeah, so you're going to learn a lot from her. And if you really implement, at the end of the day, knowing is not enough. You got to work. You got to implement what you're learning. That's where the magic is. And with that, is there anything else, Annie, you would like to add? I think we covered a lot of basic, great fundamentals for our audience today.
Well, there's so much more. I mean, we could spend hours during this, and I would love to. I do have an event where I'm going to be keynoting, and that's June 4th. It's with Fresh Connections. They're also a networking group, fabulous ladies, and there'll be a lot of women there, probably 60, 70 women, and it's at the Haley Museum, Haley Mansion in Mystic on June 4th. And I don't have, I'll have to get you a link that
Yeah,
people could go to sign up for that. And
please.
it's a networking meeting, but it's really power packed. So you're going to be doing a lot of interact, and if I'm there, there's a lot of interaction. So any and I do events, and any of my all my events are interactive, and I do many. So and just sign up to be on my mailing list, and I'll add you to my next meeting. And
Perfect. I've
Tati,
definitely,
this has been such a joy. I wish we had more time, but I've enjoyed the time we've had together today. It's been so fun. And what I love with you get it. You understand the networking. And it's been just a great 1-2 punch for everybody.
thank you. It was pleasure is all mine. And thank you so much for your time. I know you have been very busy schedule. So thank you. It was great to have you, and I look forward to doing more podcast episodes with you.
Yeah, we could
Have
do
a
that.
great day, guys.
Yeah. We can pick a certain topic and, just beat it to death. Thank you.